One F1 driver spent $16 million to buy the car of his dreams. Another driver spent a lot of money to piss off Lewis Hamilton. These are stupidly expensive things F1 drivers don't talk about. And what Lewis Hamilton bought is simply one of the most expensive purchases he made in his life. While most F1 drivers prefer to keep their personal lives very private, some would rather flaunt their assets and extravagant purchases for all to see. And one of the many drivers on the grid who flaunts it all is British driver Lewis Hamilton. The Mercedes driver has had a spectacular career. He is, without a doubt, a living legend. And with a track record spanning more than a decade, he has always been one of the highest paid drivers on the grid. One thing that most of the highest paid Formula 1 drivers have in common is their expensive car collections, and Lewis Hamilton is no exception, as he owns one of the world's rarest and most exclusive vehicles, the McLaren P1. He paid $15.6 million for the supercar at a Bonhams auction and added it to his collection, which also includes a custom-model Mercedes-AMG Project 1, a LaFerrari Limited Edition, and a Pagani Zonda 760LH. However, aside from his obvious love of cars, the 7-time Formula 1 champion has made some other outrageously expensive purchases in recent years that he doesn't really talk about. A gold leaf Fender Stratocaster guitar once owned by Prince, the famous American funk and rock musician, is one of the strange items in his collection that doesn't get much attention. The same as his McLaren P1, the 7-time Formula 1 champion purchased the item at auction and had to pay $100,000 just to own the gold-plated artifacts. The Mercedes driver also has two other guitars that were given to him by David Bowie, a rock and pop artist. But even for a Prince fanboy, $100,000 for a guitar that's not entirely made of solid gold is absurd. But then again, Lewis Hamilton is one of the few drivers who would pay such an amount on an artifact. Another driver who could spend that much money on an artifact is Charles Leclerc, but the Monegasque driver's most expensive possession is his yacht. Leclerc purchased his first yacht in 2020, a 48 Dolce Riva with a top speed of 65 km an hour for around $2 million. He named the yacht Monza after his win at the 2019 Italian Grand Prix for Ferrari, but he's recently been seen with his newest yacht, a Riva Sportfly 66 Ribble that's estimated to have cost him $2.7 million. The yacht, dubbed Sedici, the Italian word for 16, is said to have a top speed of 68.5 km an hour and can accommodate 12 people in 3 cabins. However, the fact that both yachts are Riva is no coincidence, as the Sarnico dockyard has a 2-year partnership with Ferrari, and the Monegasque driver has even appeared in their promotional video alongside footballer David Beckham and Italian actor Pier Francesco Favino. However, while the Ferrari driver's most expensive possessions are his 2 yachts, his Red Bull racing rival, Max Verstappen, has had the luxury of amassing some truly outrageous purchases, ranging from a plane to 2 very expensive cars. Verstappen has progressed from a 17-year-old rookie to one of the best, if not the best, drivers on the grid. And thanks to his impressive talent, he's amassed quite a fortune, as he is one of the highest paid drivers on the grid. And with his fortune, he's made some extravagant purchases, such as his 2 expensive Bengal cats. The breed of cat he purchased is one of the most expensive in the world, with both cats costing the 2021 F1 champion between $1,500 and $3,000. The Dutch driver joked in one of his online streams that he named both expensive cats Toto and Lewis after his 2021 rivals, but later revealed that they were named Jimmy and Sassy. Nonetheless, it was during the 24 Hours of Spa sim race, where Verstappen was competing in a virtual racing competition, that Verstappen first joked about naming both cats. Max Verstappen is a well-known and experienced gamer who's been a sim racer for over 10 years. When he's not on the track, he's busy training and competing in online endurance events in his spare time using the Slim Racer simulation setup, which is estimated to cost between $15,000 and more than $35,000, and is not to be touched according to the F1 driver. His setup contains elements that are not typical of a standard setup. Verstappen's seat includes a sim engineering wheel, a Playseat F1 Ultimate cockpit, Hoisinveld Ultimate pedals, shifter and handbrake, a carbon fiber seat, wireless helmets, and a pair of Samsung 32-inch curved triple screens, with a 4th screen for race data topics. The Dutch driver even has an online squad called Team Redline and appears to race in Gran Turismo cars rather than Formula 1 cars. It keeps me ready to go because I'm spending a lot of time also then on the setup. I'm not racing a Formula 1 car on the simulator, but it's like GT cars, so it's also a different technique of driving, Verstappen said. However, while the Red Bull driver spent this ridiculous amount of money to improve and have a smooth experience, another item he owns for a smooth experience is his private jet. Max Verstappen paid $15 million for a Dassault Falcon 900EX from Virgin Atlantic billionaire Sir Richard Branson in 2020. The 12-passenger plane has a top speed of 892 km an hour and a cruising speed of 850 km an hour. And it's estimated that flying 500 hours per year will cost Verstappen around $2 million. Nonetheless, he owns it for convenience in transporting himself to the various Grand Prix locations on the calendar, and has been seen on multiple occasions giving his mate Daniel Ricciardo a lift. However, speaking about Daniel Ricciardo, the only driver on the grid who can compete with the 8-time Grand Prix winner in terms of flamboyance is Lewis Hamilton. And as such, the Australian driver has never shied away from flaunting his fashionable collections and assets. Regardless, despite being a fashion icon who spends lavishly on fashion items, nothing beats his passion for automobiles. This is unsurprising, given that he's a Formula 1 driver, but spending more than $3 million on a vehicle outside of F1, made by the racing team, which was one of the reasons his contract with McLaren was terminated early, is quite fascinating. Notwithstanding, after taking a good look at the Aston Martin Valkyrie, it's easy to see why he spent so much money on the supercar. The supercar is powered by a 6.5-litre naturally aspirated V12 engine that's said to produce more than 1,000 horsepower when combined with an energy recovery system. Speaking about how he got to buy the Aston Martin Valkyrie, Ricciardo said, "Obviously, I've done some stuff with Aston Martin already, and they said I would get one. But the world is a big place and there's a lot of big and powerful people out there. It put a good dent in the budget. Aston don't even know what the price is going to be yet. They said it would be between X and Y, but it was a pretty big difference. More like B and Y." However, while the Australian driver who parted ways with McLaren Racing is wealthy enough to spend such a sum on an Aston Martin supercar, a former McLaren driver who also did not see his contract through is no doubt capable of spending such a sum on the car built by the racing team for which he's racing for. Two-time Formula 1 champion Fernando Alonso has an estimated net worth of $260 million, making him the third richest F1 driver of all time. And with a portion of his fortune amassed from racing for top teams such as Ferrari, McLaren and Renault, he is no doubt capable of making extravagant purchases such as a solar-powered yacht. The Spaniard ordered the 60 Sunreef Power Eco Catamaran from Sunreef Yachts. The yacht, Alonso's first and only purchase, is propelled by electric motors and a solar panel system developed by the shipyard. It also has ultralight batteries and an energy-efficient air conditioning system, and is expected to cost around €4 million. However, while €4 million may not hurt his wallet, something else will, as Max Verstappen is on track to break his number of championships won. In recent years, the Red Bull driver